go. Hello. How's it going? Just gonna light my smudge. Hello to those of you watching the recording today. Hope you all had a good weekend. Alma's here. Hi, Alma. Hi, Stephanie, darling. How are you? Hi, Grant. Nice to see you, bud. How's it going? Charisse is here. Hello, Charisse. Hi, Connie. How is everyone? Did you guys have a good weekend? Trying to light my smudge here, but it's giving me a hard time. Whoever rolled this, I mean, damn. They rolled it so tight. Doesn't want to light. Maybe I'll light my Palo Santo today, because look at this thing. It doesn't want to burn. I need my blowtorch, and I'm not going to use my blowtorch right now. So maybe I'll just use that. What have you guys been up to this weekend? Hi, Chandrika. Hi, Lori. Tired all the time now. I have been exhausted the last few days. I don't know about you guys, but maybe it's these crazy energies coming in, but wow, it has been a lot in the last few days. Hi, Pauline. Hi, Chantal. Hi, Lindsay. Hi, Susan. Hi, Christina. How is everyone today? Hi, Alicia. Hi, Erica. Hi, Karen. Nice to see you. Aiden still cuddles with his penguin, by the way. He loves that penguin you got him, Kara. Thank you. He's cuddling up with it on the couch as we speak. Because he doesn't have school today. Can you imagine not having school because it's St. Patrick's Day? I was like, what do you mean he doesn't have school? And then, sure enough, he didn't. So I was like, what is going on here? Why are they celebrating? I guess they're just giving the kids the day off. I don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I am not Catholic, and I am actually pagan. So being pagan, we don't celebrate St. Patrick's Day. So that's why I'm not even wearing green today, because no. Grant says my sleep is all over the place. The energies have been crazy, Grant. I am not surprised. Lots of migraines. Yep. A lot of people getting migraines. I had a migraine and I was like, what is going on here? And then I checked and I had an attachment and I was like, oh, okay. That was a level 1 that gave me a migraine. So there's a lot of crazy energies, and then there's a lot of susceptibility right now because so many of us are kind of unsure as to how things are going. Michelle says, I'm pagan too. Yeah, Michelle. Michelle has green eyes. That's so lovely. I've always wanted green eyes. Amma says, bastard killed the druids. Yeah, exactly. Nope. Leanne says, I don't celebrate anymore either. To each their own, you know. You look glowy. Did I change the lighting? Very observant of you, Charisse. Tina convinced me to try something with new lighting so I could be seen better yesterday. So if you guys could see me better, that is why I have new lighting behind it. So yeah. Apparently I'm always in the dark, she said. So I'm like, all right, let me see what I could do. When I was teaching in the classroom, St. Patrick's was one of the worst days for behavior. Crazy kids. I get why they canceled school. Yeah, that's funny. They were just like, nope. So Jennifer says, Katya and I can't stop sleeping. Figured it was a Leo thing. It might be. It might be a Leo thing. You guys are very sweet, though, with the compliments. Thank you. It's literally just new lighting. You guys can just see me better today. That's all. So, hi, Jordan. Nice to see you. It's wonderful to see you watching, hanging out with us. My 3-year-old woke up at 3 a.m. during the eclipse totality and never went back to sleep. So I was basically walking all day, falling asleep. I also woke up at totality, stuck my head out the window. I couldn't see anything because it was really dark anyway. I was like, oh, okay, it must be because of the eclipse. And then went right back to bed, like instantly. But you know what's interesting? I was talking with one of my medium friends, and I told her that I woke up at 3 a.m. in the totality moment. And she's like, and I was like, really? She goes, you didn't go look at it, did you? And I was like, really? You can't see anything. It was too overcast. She's like, That's a good thing for you. She apparently looking at eclipses is not a good thing. According to her, I mean, everybody has their opinions. This is the medium though that channels Constantine. So she knows her shit. She really does. So yeah, that's why when she said that, she's like, don't look at eclipses, don't watch eclipses. I was like, oh, okay, good to know. So there's an eclipse coming in 2 weeks as well. They're always 2 weeks apart from each other, the lunar and the solar eclipses. So just keep that in mind that apparently it's bad juju. I've never really enjoyed eclipse energy. Just like I've never enjoyed full moon energy. Full moon energy has always been wonky to me. I'm much more comfortable on the new moon when the energies aren't as chaotic and weird. I mean, the fact that parasites are the most active during the full moon, I think says a lot, just for the record. And I don't think it's just gut parasites that they're talking about. I mean, probably the astral versions as well. I woke up this morning at 1:11 a.m. Really? Just look at your clock at when it's 1:11. That's your guides probably waking you up, going, hey, wake up. I want to talk to you something. Get her attention. Lori says, as an ex-Catholic, I use this day to celebrate my Irish ancestors. That's a beautiful thing. If you want to celebrate it to, hold your ancestry in high reverence, there's nothing wrong with that. We can take it back, as they say. We can make it our own. Why not? They did that to our holidays. Why not do it to theirs? Right? You change the meaning and turn it into something more positive. My favorite holiday isn't until next month, and it's going to be on Easter. So technically, they're already claiming my favorite holiday because technically my favorite holiday is falling on Easter this year. I was so pissed when I saw that. I was like, I am not cooking. That was the one thing I told my whole family. No, don't even think about asking me to cook for Easter. It's not happening. In fact, I won't even be around on Easter. You will not see me on Easter. So any news about the shift? How far are we at the moment? That's a great question. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Because keep in mind, every time we get a little bit ahead, they find a way to push us back a little. So it's this constant teeter-totter shit that we're dealing with when it comes to the eclipse. The shift. Would love to hear more, though, if you guys are interested in talking about this. I would be happy to get Marguerite on here as well. There's a couple things that I would like to work on. Somebody get Marguerite to agree to come on my podcast. Apparently, Marguerite doesn't do podcasts very often. I think she's shy. So we need to just keep tagging Marguerite and saying, hey, Marguerite, come on the podcast. Come talk about stuff. Come teach us things, Marguerite. Because I really want to know. I want to know all about these flares and Schumann resonances. And I don't know a good source to find where I can learn about them. So if you guys have any idea, because there's some weird shit, right? I want to know. Hold on. I'm going to show you guys. Does anybody know when you see the down? What are those? What are those downward spikes? Anybody know? Because I am dying to find out. The downward spikes. Because you see them go up a lot. But what are the down ones? Because we've been getting a lot of those. She does her own lives. I noticed, Michelle. That's why I'm like, come on, Marguerite. How was your weekend? It's very, very well. Thank you. I had a great weekend. We had a great class yesterday. Any more news about Maurice Vadu? Nope. I'm staying away from all that right now. I am having major trust issues with anything that is internet-based information. It took me like 6 months to gain my trust and to actually believe in the information that was being put out as accurate. And then I find misinformation and I'm like, okay, well, if there's misinformation, what else is misinformation? So I'm staying away from it for a bit until until I resonate with it again. Or until I find out that it hasn't been compromised, because there's a lot of weird stuff being put out that does not resonate with me right now. And I fact-checked some of it with my guides and it was not accurate. So, like the post you shared about the resonance last night and the data not fitting anymore. System's too old. Exactly, Chantal. Yes. This is one of the reasons why I'm like, I want updated information, please. If it doesn't make sense, make it make sense. Daphne says, I loved the masterclass yesterday. So much good information. Thank you, Daphne. I really appreciate you saying that. If you guys have any questions about the class, feel free to ask. If there's anything that you didn't get answered in class, I'm happy to answer them now. But we also, there's going to be a Reiki course for those of you who are interested, because you know, it's funny. One of the most common advice that my guides are putting in the aftercare, I'll say, is there any aftercare advice you would like to recommend for the client? And the soul guide goes, yeah, she needs to learn energy healing. It's very common that my guides are like, no, she needs to learn how to heal herself. She needs to learn how to heal her space. She needs to learn how to take care of her chakras and make sure that all of her energy is balanced and maintained. So there's a lot of the guides going, hey, learn Reiki, learn Reiki. So my friend Tina, the one that did the masterclass for astral projection with me last night, Tina has been practicing astral projection for nearly 40 years, which is why I asked her to join me for teaching that class. But she's also a phenomenal teacher of Reiki as well. In fact, Tina is the one that gave me my third Reiki attunement for my mastership. So she is phenomenal as a Reiki teacher. And so she and I are going to be doing a Reiki course together. I'm so excited. Like I said, she's the one that attuned me for mastership, and she taught me so much about Reiki healing. And so I am very, very excited to bring you guys in on that as well. So if you guys are interested, keep in mind, this will be probably about 3 weeks from now. We'll be doing a level 1 Reiki course. And then a couple months after that, we will offer a Reiki 2 course as well. And she is probably even willing to do Reiki 3 at some point next year with you guys if you are all interested. So that will be in about 3 weeks from now. I'm just settling some dates and trying to figure out what date will be best for that. So for you guys that are interested in learning energy healing, Reiki is one of the best things that you can do for just learning how to maintain your own energy and learn how to protect yourself. Any empaths out there really should learn Reiki. Even if it's not from us, I don't care where you learn it, just learn it, okay? You need to learn Reiki. Everybody should learn it because it's one of the most important things that you could do for yourself is to give yourself healing every day. I don't do it enough. It's one of the biggest things that I'm kicking myself for not doing it enough. And yes, it does come with a certificate. Yes, it does. It will be a certification course. So I think we're charging $111, considering it's going to be 2 days of teaching, including the ceremony where you get your attunement. So those are spread apart, a couple weeks apart. But yes, there will be a certificate so you guys can do Reiki on people, and you can actually do this as a career as well. So yes, it's definitely requiring a certification. And for those of you who are interested, it is going to be wonderful. Trust me, because I've been there. She was my level 1 and level 3 attunement. Tina was. So my friend Gerda in France was my level 2 attunement, and she was phenomenal as well. So there's so many great Reiki teachers out there. So if you feel, that you could do with something in person, that you'd rather learn in person, have a look and see if you can find a Reiki teacher in your area. How is your foot after Chinese doctor's healing? It's actually feeling a lot better. I've been putting castor oil packs on it as well. I think it's a bone spur. I think because I don't go to the doctor like I'm supposed to. I don't trust Western medicine most of the time. So I'm pretty sure that's what it is, though. And so, yeah, it is getting slightly better. So thank you very much for asking. Aaron says, I've been doing Reiki my whole life, just didn't know what it was called until 5 years ago. Well, what's funny is that Reiki is just one modality of probably hundreds, if not thousands, of healing modalities that have occurred over the years, right? Because Master Usui, the one who basically reinvented Reiki, is not a new practice. I mean, even Jesus putting his hands on people and healing them. What do you think he was doing? It was Reiki, just a different form, or at least however he was taught in how to heal people. And what's funny is that when I was a little kid, whenever somebody, as we call it in South Africa, we call it an Aina. Whenever Aiden gets an Aina, he does this as well. He does the same thing that I did as a kid, where he rubs his hands together and he put his hands on it. And then I find out, when I was a kid that I was doing this as well. My mom said, oh, you used to do that. And I didn't even remember doing that. So then we find out that, when you do this, you are powering up the chakras in your hands. You have vortices in your hands of energy, and then they push forward. You can see it look like I have an S in my scar now. You can push the energy forward. You can move it back. You can do all kinds of shifting with the energy. But what's really cool is what I really love to do is when you take your hands, you rub them together, and then you can literally feel the energy. It's like creating a ball of energy in your hands. You don't need an attunement to do this. All of you can do this. where you could feel that energy building in between the chakras of your hands. And as you have that ball, you visualize it in your head, changing colors or whatever you want it to look like. You can fill it with things, kind of like what you would with one of those balloons. You fill it up and then you send it to the person you're thinking of. I sent it to my mom because she's working on healing some stuff with her eyes. So you just build that ball in your hand. And like I said, the more that you rub your hands together, you can actually kind of feel the energy between your hands as you're doing it. So there's lots of different things that you can do with Reiki that will give you just little opportunities to give yourself more energy and to feel more balanced. Yeshua went to the East. He learned it there, maybe. Yeah, he was all over the place. And yes, there will be an on-demand. I just need to get that worked out on my website where you guys will be able to purchase the masterclass from yesterday. Yesterday's class was mostly just about astral projection. It was not one of my psychic protection courses. I'll be running one of those probably in 2 months or so. I'm trying to do an astral projection course every 3 months and then also do a psychic protection course, rotate them out every 3 to 6 months. Can we send Reiki energy to deceased ones to help them find the light? Yes, absolutely. Although just keep in mind, prayers do help, right? If you have a loved one that has passed away very recently, as it happens, the more recently it is, that tends to help more. Your prayers are enough sometimes. But what's funny, right, is that sometimes prayers can have the opposite effect. Isn't that crazy? Where you can actually keep people locked into the 3D matrix because you're praying for them and constantly bringing their energy back to you. So there's a delicate balance between, praying for someone to go and enter the light versus praying to keep somebody around and have that connection still. Because unfortunately, it's one of the most common reasons that earthbounds don't cross over is because they're afraid of leaving loved ones. And if you've ever seen the movie, what was it? It was a perfect example of this. What Dreams May Come. What Dreams May Come was a really sad movie, I know. But there's this one scene where Robin Williams, who just passed away, is an earthbound, and he goes to visit his wife who is grieving. And as he touches her and went to console her, it's like she could feel his presence. But instead of being comforting, it almost threw her into a mental health crisis because it was like she was torn between, reality and what she believed to not be real. And so it created a whole lot of cords and attachment and made it harder for her to heal with him hanging around. And so he eventually crossed himself over. He realized what it was doing to her. And he's like, okay, I'm sorry, I'll leave. And he left and crossed over to the light. So this, unfortunately, is also true for very much what happens with earthbounds. Your family can feel when they're around. And it does make you more depressed. It makes you feel denser. And also, I hate to say it, but sometimes they attach to us as well. They don't mean it to be a negative kind of thing, but they attach to us. It's kind of like when a child goes and grabs a parent's leg and doesn't want to let go. It is one of those situations where they mean well. They just are so lost and sad and really missing their family that they just feel so deeply connected. And so, yeah, this is one of the reasons why it can actually cause a lot of distress for the family when they're still around. So making, prayers and asking them to go to the light, to be with loved ones, that's a wonderful thing to do. But yes, it does keep them in a state of grief if you sit there and pray and try and, you know what I mean, and hold them close to you and don't want to let go. If they're earthbound, can they not reincarnate at all? No, they cannot. Keep in mind that walk-ins are a thing, but in order for an earthbound to be a walk-in, there would have to be a possession level attachment. So that's why I say it's extremely, extremely rare for that to happen, where they basically body snatch someone. But other than that, yes, they can actually, they have to cross over. That's where all the planning stages are. That's why the entities don't want you to cross over to the light. A lot of people, in fact, yesterday, it cracks me up. Somebody yesterday tagged me on a post saying something like, Is it possible that when you die and you go to the light and you see the tunnel of light and you enter it, that you come out of somebody's vagina? You're literally just going into the tunnel and coming out the other end of the tunnel, so to speak. And it cracks me up every time I hear that. No, that is, I can promise you that is not what happens. All right. You go to the planning stages, you go to the areas what we consider to be the high astral. Most commonly, the place you'll see is the healing place. You go to the healing place first, then you get to go to the upper astral. If you've got, oh, what's his name? He's phenomenal at this discussion. I have my library upstairs now. I can't remember. Oh my God, what is his name? He's the guy that also wrote books very similar to Dolores Cannon, but his books are a lot more about mapping the upper astral. And my brain is not working today. Apparently, I didn't get enough oxygen over the weekend. I can't remember his name. Can somebody help me remember his name? Oh my God. It's on the tip of my tongue too. Anyway, it's gonna bog me. Michael Newton, thank you, Courtney. Yes, thank you, Amma. Thank you, Ness. It was Michael Newton. Thank you, Michael Newton. Yes, his books are phenomenal. If you guys would like to learn more about what you experience after you enter the light, his books are what you want. Look at all those people that know Michael Newton. Love that, you guys. If you've never read a Michael Newton book, you have to. However, I must admit, Michael does not talk about the beasties. Michael doesn't talk about death loops as far as I'm aware. So everywhere you go, you get like 70% of the story. But he's wonderful. He keeps his books very positive. There's a little bit of upsetting stuff in there, but not too much. And to be honest, like, it's phenomenal. His books, if you really want to know what it's like after you enter the light, his books are what you want. They're so good. But there are things in there that triggered me a little bit, I will tell you. And it triggered me because I didn't like the way that they do things. The way, like, for example, like, there's some people that as soon as they get to the upper astral and they step off of like this conveyor belt thing, because it's basically what happens. You basically get like tractor beamed. Once you enter the light, you get like, they're pulling you like this, and you get like tractor beamed somewhere. And where you end up is entirely depending on your vibration, where your soul level is, what are the things you have to accomplish, whether or not you need healing, and a whole lot of other stuff. What is a death loop? So a death loop is what happens when you are earthbound and you die traumatically. And usually this happens when it's an instantaneous death or when it's a death that is deeply, deeply traumatic. Like drowning victims often have death loops, people that die in explosions. People that die, I'm trying to think. Sometimes murder victims actually as well are kept in death loops. So a death loop is basically when you experience your death over and over and over and over and over and over again. There are earthbounds that have experienced their death thousands, even hundreds of thousands of times over and over again over the course of the time that they've been stuck as an earthbound. In fact, if you guys look at the Lost Soul Rescue that we did on Friday, there's a recording in my Lost Soul Rescue group where we found a bunch of drowning victims in a death loop. The one in Ethiopia, if you guys remember on the recording, there was 71 people. I think it was either in a vehicle or some kind of bus or something. And they went to drive over a bridge. It was just after a wedding. So I don't know if the driver was drunk or something, but instead of driving over the bridge, he missed the bridge and drove straight into this crazy river. And the people that were in the river, they were in a death loop where they were drowning over and over again. So this is the case I've found for people that die in explosions. I'm not entirely sure about house fires. I just know that it's trauma that creates that. It's the shock and awe of what you're experiencing that causes you, because it's like you're trying to process it, and then doing the processing, you're re-experiencing it as you're trying to process it. But when we did that clearing in Grenada, for example, love you, Adriana, we cleared 1,800 earthbounds, wasn't that? From the Bay Area, and a lot of those were stuck in death loops, not just from drowning, but from battles, from all kinds of stuff. So war zones have a lot of death loops. Absolutely, Carol. Yep. In fact, somebody asked me to do a clearing on an area in a war zone. I have been very much against war for a very long time. And out of all the places in the world, if I could choose to clear places, I would be clearing active war zones. But to be honest, I'm not willing to put my mediums at risk, because if it was just me, right, I would be charging in there like, going in and making sure all that shit is cleared out. But it's not just me. It's my mediums. It's my friends who would be going in there with me. And I know for a fact, as we've had experiences before, like when I cleared the people that died in that plane crash outside of DC, I got hit with a really, really bad psychic attack that evening, like really bad. And they retaliate, unfortunately. If you go in and clear a space that they're like, no, we didn't want you to clear that space, unfortunately, our energy is all over the place, and they can easily find the people that did the clearing in the first place. So as we go in there, we'd be fine probably. You know what I mean? Like we go in there as a team, we clear the space, we do a great job. We're like, yeah, wonderful, woohoo. And then we disconnect. And then we're on our own. We're no longer in a group. So it is possible that after we disconnect with the clearing and we're going about our day, that whoever is pissed off about the clearing would be able to come and find us and mess with us when we're on our own. And that is the problem. So, like I said, if it was just me and it was my own safety at risk, my dumbass would be running in there, guarantee it. But if, like I said, I care more about the safety of my mediums than anything else, and I will not put any of them at risk. And unfortunately, that means no active war zones. So if you notice, I do tend to, I'm still willing to do clearings on places like Syria, because I know there's a lot of horrible things going on. So if somebody wants to book a clearing for someone there, but I do that very delicately, and I put a bubble around them, and the situation, it has to be not in an active war zone where that, because the biggest entities in the world are there. The archons and some of the really, really dark ancient ones, you really don't want to get their attention. They could stop your heartbeat like that. Like they could literally come up to you and you're dead. Like that's how powerful some of these entities are. So these are the ones we're not trying to get the attention of, just for the record. Can we help someone get out of a death loop? This is when you need mediums. Death loops can be a contract, but most of the time the death loop contracts are actually with entities. Most of the contracts we find that are keeping people, in an earthbound state are not good contracts. Those are dark contracts. I will say, however, that I have found prenatal aftercare, prenatal earthbound contracts, which basically means they had a contract to be earthbound for a while because there was some kind of a lesson in that experience. But even then, that person that had that, by the time we found them as an earthbound, their contract was already served and they were able to cross over. So it's not like they said, no, we can't cross this person over. They have a contract to be earthbound. They're like, oh, no, actually, that contract is about to expire. It's just perfect timing. It's kind of how it was. How do we book a clearing with you? Thank you, Ariana. You're the best. It's astrallara.com. A lot of people wonder why I didn't use my full name. It's because there's already another Lara Star out there. She's a charm school teacher, a charm school principal. So that's why I didn't use larastar.com. Can you imagine? She's probably getting messages from people thinking that she's me. I always crack up about that. How there's probably some charm school teacher out there that's getting messages like, do you do demonic depossession? Yes. Oh, so funny. Oh, Ariana, you're the sweetest. Thank you. Perfect. Yes, I have a lot of messages to catch up on. So after I take my little man out for a haircut to this afternoon, I will tackle all my messages. He's got emo hair right now. He needs to sort it out. What if we don't know their birthday for a clearing? I need a photo of them. If you don't know their age or their date of birth, a photo would work because we need their energy signature, right? So that's why we need birth names. Birth names have that's your energy signature attached to the name. So birth names are the ones we prefer more than married names. Birth names, date of birth or age, and last known location. Those things definitely help. Unless you just have a photo. We could tune in to people with just a photo. So What time do you start each day? I always come in late. 10 a.m. Eastern. If you were in the UK, then it probably really messed with you because we had our daylight savings a week or two ago. So I've noticed a few people have messaged me going, "Why are you starting an hour later?" It's the government's fault. blame the government. I don't like daylight savings. I never have. But yes, it's 10 a.m. Eastern. Can I book a clearing for my aunt? Does she need to agree on a clearing? I get consent from the higher self before we begin. I've only ever had the higher self tell me no once. And I was like, why? And they were like, because she needs it next week, not now. And I was like, oh, okay. So I waited a week and then I came back and I was like, can I do the clearing? And the higher self was like, yeah, you can do it. And I was like, so I asked the guides, I was like, why couldn't I have done it a week ago? And they, it's funny, the answer they gave me. They said because we knew she was going to a dark place this week. And so we knew she would need the clearing later. So it wasn't that we weren't allowed to do the clearing. They knew it would be wasted. And so they made me wait a week to do the clearing for her. So that is the only time I've had it be no. One of my mentors, Andy, was one of the people that did actually have the higher self say no once. And this is one of my favorite stories. This is actually a really funny story where somebody booked a clearing for this creepy old man in town. They were like, there's something wrong with this guy. He just seems off. So they booked a clearing for him. And Andy went to go and check him. And turns out, you know what it was? He wasn't human. He could not be cleared because he was a skinwalker. No wonder he was giving the townspeople creepy vibes being a skinwalker. So the higher self was like, no, you can't clear him. He's not human. Sorry. Doesn't work that way. So yes, there are very rare occasions that the higher self will say no. But in most cases, even for people, like let's say, for example, they're in the middle of learning a lesson, right? This person is in the middle of learning a lesson and they book a clearing. Originally, the soul guides would probably have been like, well, if he's trying to get out of the lesson early, you know what I mean? Like he's trying to clear this without actually learning what the lesson was in the attachment in the first place. If that is the case, you will not stay sovereign long anyway. I hate to say it, but if entities are part of your learning process for whatever reason, you're just going to pick up other ones. Susan says, skinwalkers have higher selves. Everyone has a higher self. Even the ants that walk on the ground have higher selves. Everything has a higher self. You were one of the ants that walks on the ground if you want to get technical. So yeah, of course you have a higher self. Everything does. They're all disassociative splits from source, if you want to get technical about it. We split ourselves into different consciousnesses, but we still have a higher self that is the all-encompassing aspect of self, if you know what I mean. And no, thank you, Charisse. You're so helpful. I appreciate you. You don't have to be there. We just need your energy signature. Like I said, my guides need your information so they can find your energy. Will a photo be good enough for Lost Soul Rescue? If I have a photo and a name, that'll be enough. I need a name, even just a first name and a photo, because we can pick up your energy from the photo. In fact, we've done that before. There's a couple mediums where I was giving them the name and they're like, I am not picking up anything. And I'm like, all right, hang on. And I find what's funny is if you're on social media, I've actually had this a couple times where I'm trying to train new mediums, giving them some more experience. And they're like, I'm not picking up anything. So I'll be like, all right, let me Google this sucker. Okay. Yep. Oh, yeah. This is the guy here. And I show a picture and they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, I got him. This most often happens when they're cloaked, by the way. If you have an entity that is trying to hide you, which is a really interesting thing, we've noticed that, the more that we advance ourselves and get more clever when it comes to clearings, the more clever those little bastards get as well. The beasties get a lot more clever. One of the things we've noticed, level 2s and 3s working together recently. In the last couple weeks, the amount of entities we found that are, it's like the level 2 is holding down the space while the level 3 is doing the attack, if you know what I mean. It's like one's holding them down and one's punching. Like, this is how it tends to work sometimes, where the entities kind of, they're in cahoots, if you want to call it technical. That's what they're doing. They're working together, So we have noticed it's not, because before it was like competition. Before it was like predators, it's like the hyenas and the lions are fighting each other for the same scraps. You know what I mean? But now it's like, no, the hyenas are looking out for the lions. It's the weirdest thing. It's like, oh, they know that things are getting desperate, so they have to work together in order to stay safer, I guess. But it doesn't help. Like, my guides come in and clear it all anyway. So who knows? Maybe they're just, like I said, getting desperate. What if the name that you know by them is not their birth name? I'll never know until the medium tries. You know what's interesting? Constantine can find you just by your case number. Okay. Constantine's Arcturian. He's one of my Arcturian guys that do clearings. All I have to say for Constantine is, okay, case number, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, all right, got it. And I'll be like, are you sure? And he'd be like, yeah. I'm like, first name is what? And he'll say it. And I'm like, oh, okay. No, yep, that's it. I don't know how they do it. I think they got my computer. They've hacked my computer, the Arcturians. I don't know how they do it. There must be an energy signature going from the person who purchased or something. I don't know. But this is also interesting because Dr. Palmer talked about this, where in fact they would like that to be part of how they do it by getting case numbers instead. Because it has just having a name has a lot of extra information included in that. And so the guides just want, you know what I mean? Sometimes it makes it easier. It entirely depends on the soul guide and the medium. As a facilitator, I have worked with probably a dozen, if not more, mediums by now. And they're all different. Every single one. Every soul guide is different. Every medium is different. The way they channel, the way they bring information forward. And this is another reason why, you know, I feel like I owe, how do I say this? So, do you guys remember Sylvia Brown? Sylvia Brown is a medium that has been around for a very long time. She passed away, I believe, 10 years ago or so. Well, I owe Sylvia an apology. I will say this by trying to humble myself here and express when I'm wrong, even though it was 10 years ago. And I still, you know, I saw a video once where somebody asked Sylvia Brown if somebody was still alive. And Sylvia said, no, they are not. And when this was happening, this was live on TV. It was a mother that was asking Sylvia, she said, is my daughter still alive? And Sylvia said, I'm so sorry, but no, I don't believe she is. And Sylvia got a lot of shtick for this case because about a year or so later, the daughter was found. She was abducted and held captive for over a year, for I think it was like 2 or 3 years, right? And so Sylvia told the mother that the daughter had died and was no longer living. And the daughter was watching live on TV when this occurred. The daughter saw Sylvia Brown tell her mother that she was dead. And the daughter was so distressed. She said, it robbed me of any hope that I would be found. And when I found that out, I got so like, charlatan, you know, like that was my vibe. I was like, oh my God, how dare you? You know, like I did not believe in Cynthia. In fact, I actually was kind of insulting to people like my mom who really liked Cynthia back then. Because I was like, if she's actually a real medium, she'll be able to tune in and know whether or not she's alive or dead. That should be easy, right? No, no, it's not. After doing this work for several months, I mean, I've been doing earthbound checks for over a year, and there's a couple times where people will send me missing persons cases. In fact, somebody sent me a missing persons case a couple weeks ago, and I had 6 mediums check on this missing person. 6. And every single one of us thought he was no longer with us. We all thought he was deceased. But none of us could really confirm it. None of us, I mean, we were all like, this is really strange. Like he's in a dark place. He looks like he's being held captive. He's just, everything about it seemed to be earthbound. And so we didn't want to tell his family this because we were obviously didn't want to distress his family. So we just said, we don't have anything, you know, that we can validate beyond all doubt. So unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of gray areas because what's interesting is all 6 of us thought he would be deceased and he came back. He's alive. We were all wrong. But what was interesting, right, is that when we tuned into his energy, he was a walk-in. Or at least everything was brand new. Like his chakra system was redone, everything was all redone. So what I think we actually tuned in was when he was trying to decide which timeline he wants to find himself in. And this is why I say sometimes this, as Courtney says, sometimes the situations are so complicated that the information the mediums are getting is so confusing and so jumbled. And I have literally checked people who were, I had this one person message me and said, "Can you do a wellness check on someone?" And we did a wellness check and he was fine. I mean, his chakras were a bit of a mess and we did a bunch of checking on other things around the house and we cleared him and I sent the report. And then 12 hours later, I find out he's been dead for 48 hours. And I was like, oh my God, I was mortified because I'm like, okay, I told the family he's fine and he's actually been deceased in his house for 2 days. How did this, how did this get confused? And what was crazy is that it was my most advanced guide that picked up that he was still alive. So we go back in just out of curiosity as to how the hell this is even happening when I find out he was actually deceased. And it turns out he was in another timeline. We picked him up in another timeline. So you know how in a near-death experience, you get a version of you that continues on and survives, and another near-death experience, another version of you passes away. That is what a near-death experience is. One timeline you die, another timeline you don't. In the timeline that you don't die, that is the decision you made to say, okay, I'm going to die in one timeline and move on to another. This is why you experience your life review over again. In the blink of an eye, how you see that flash and your life flashes before your eyes, that's because another version of you is going through the death experience at that moment. So I realized how crazy this shit is, especially when you're dealing with a holographic reality. So the point of this whole rant that I'm going on right now is that no medium knows 100% sure all the time what is actually going on. It is far too confusing. There's far too many realities out there that they could tune into. There's so many different versions of us that exist. And it's difficult to know if you're tuning into which particular version, especially if somebody is deceased or at that crux of choosing which version of the reality they're going to move into. So as Alma, funnily enough, that was going to be my next point. Alma says there should be like 5 timelines where I died then. How many of you have had near-death experiences? I've had at least 4 that I can think of. There's probably more. There's a couple times where I should not be here. In fact, I've tried to take my own life 3 or 4 times. So just in that moment right there, I caused a split in a reality where I'm no longer there in one of those other timelines. Especially if anybody that's tried to take their own life, you made a decision to stay in a particular timeline where you're still here. But in another reality, especially if it was a close call, you're probably not here in all realities, if you know what I mean. So there's probably timelines where you do not exist anymore for that reason. So I know this is some heavy shit to discuss on a Monday, but there's a lot of heavy stuff going on and it does make things very confusing. So I would just like to express my love and appreciation and my apology to Sylvia Brown for calling her a charlatan all those years ago, because now that I'm actually doing the work that Sylvia was doing, I commend her so much for the amount of patience and hard work and just the amount of scrutiny she had to go through in order just to be a good medium at a time when mediumship was so taboo. Like there were so few mediums back then, or at least mediums who were well trained in order to help people to the things. Just the fact that she was trying to help missing persons says so much about who she was. And I just wish to send her so much love wherever you are, Cynthia. Whew. So yeah, I'm learning a lot doing these Earthbound cases, and I'm really glad that I'm able to help you guys learn from them as well. So many thanks to the mediums who don't mind being recorded and having their faces out there as they're doing this work, because it does take a lot. It takes a lot out of you to do this work, but then to also allow people to watch you do this work. It's a whole nother ballgame. You have to have a lot of confidence to do that. And you also have to be humble. Like there's our chances where you're going to be wrong, where you're going to interpret things differently, where you're going to get the wrong impression of things. And that's not your fault. You're seeing it through the filter of your own perception. We all are. It's why no medium will see the same thing exactly identical, because we're all filtering things through our perception. Although I will say there was a couple cases, like there was a case 2 weeks ago that I did check on this one client, and she was dealing with very bad attachments, etc. So we cleared all these attachments, but the past life trauma was the biggest factor in all of this. This is where the biggest vulnerability was. And this person was put on a rack. I hate to say it, but putting on a rack in a dungeon is one of the worst things that people have experienced in regards to torture. So this person put on the rack, and this caused an insane amount of trauma to this person. Like I'm talking 4 or 5 lifetimes since then have been dealing with the trauma from this torture that occurred in this dungeon, right? And so when I tuned in a second time to do a recheck on this person, what I found to be the most interesting was that the trauma that occurred was identical to what the second medium. I mean, the second medium did a recheck and validated almost verbatim exactly what this client was going through. In fact, they were even more detailed on what occurred in the dungeon, and it was not pretty. So it's interesting. It really helps when a medium validates another medium, because it gives that medium confidence. So working in a group, when one medium sees something and the other medium goes, oh my God, I see that too, that really helps to build the confidence of our mediums. So it's not just about the work itself being so important. It's also about building the confidence of the people who are, involved in this work. And that's why the group sessions are so important. Can someone become a medium? Everybody is a medium, Daphne. Every single one of you is technically a medium. There is not one of you that is not. And what's funny is that most of us gaslight ourselves out of actually expanding on our gifts. Every single one of you is telepathic. Every single one of you has a gift in being able to sense energies. We all have a sixth sense, as we call it. But whether or not you are honing that gift, whether or not you're actually trying to expand on that and to identify certain things that point out that you're gifted, if you ignore your gifts, right? If you let's say that you are a concert pianist in a past life, but you've never sat down at a piano in this lifetime, how would you know? Right? How would you know if you never tried? So this is the thing. People want to try, they want to get involved in these things. If you don't sit down at the piano, you won't know that you have the gift. So if you don't sit down in a mediumship group and start practicing your mediumship, you have no idea if you're a medium. So this is why we have our mediumship courses and why we have so many people that we are doing practice sessions with. In fact, this is one of the things we are planning on offering Astara, is those mediumship circles. Remember, we had the mediumship circles. We had them once a week or bi-weekly, I forget, on Astara. But things kind of fell apart for a few months while we were shifting and reorganizing things. So if you guys are interested in doing a bi-weekly mediumship course on Astara, I would love to do something like that again. So if there's also, we have a whole lot of interesting things coming on. In fact, next week, I have a death doula coming on the podcast. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Her name is Mikey the Death Doula. If you guys want to look into her, follow her page and check her out. Mikey the Death Doula. Because there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of aspects. A lot of people want to know, how do we prevent people being earthbound? By sorting out their shit before they die. You're not guaranteed to be an earthbound. The reason why people are earthbound is because of trauma, because of unfinished business, because of being afraid to leave family, because of being fearful about what's in the afterlife. So, podcast, what is it called? It is called You're Watching It Right Now. Yes, that's what it's called. So Mikey, her page is called Mikey the Death Doula. So if you guys want to look into her before she comes on the podcast, I think she'll be on like the 3rd of April or something. But that will be a really fun conversation. There's going to be all kinds of wonderful things. Doing Reiki with clients daily has been so helpful and fun for developing my mediumship. Yes, see, Reiki is one of the best things you can also use for developing your mediumship. Thank you, Kara. I appreciate you pointing that out. So any other questions? I am interested in a mediumship course. Fantastic. I am still a baby medium myself. This is why being a facilitator is such a wonderful role for me, because I love doing facilitating. I do. It's like I feel like a conductor in an opera, like an orchestra. It's kind of like, like it just feels really good to kind of be like, all right, do this, check this out, make sure there's nothing missing here. You know what I mean? Like, and I could see it in my mind's eye. So being able to hone your mediumship while also doing facilitating is a phenomenal thing. I love it. There's so much advancement that I've been making. In fact, I know what I'm gonna hear from the mediums before they even say it. Probably about 70% of the time, even down to the numbers, because that's what really caught my attention. Because it's one thing for them to be like, oh yeah, there's 4 earthbounds in the house. And I'll be like, yeah, I knew there were 4 earthbounds. Like that could have just been a guess, right? That could have been a lucky guess. But when they say something like, no, the integrity of the etheric is at 68%, and I had 68 in my head, I'm like, oh, okay. Like it does actually help a lot to have, it's the validation. You're already a medium. It's removing all the blockages and barriers that are blocking you from your gift, and most of which were self-implemented. Same here. Because I was a full-blown medium at age 15, 16. I could see all kinds of freaky shit around me. I just didn't know what I was seeing. And it traumatized me so much that I turned it off. Where can we stay updated on future masterclass mediumship circles and everything? Thank you, Jennifer. Astara Community is the name of our community website. We have a whole lot of information and courses and material up there. If you sign up with astaracommunity.com, you keep your email and your login for when you signed up, and then you download an app. It's called the Mighty app. And then you use the same login details that you created on Astara, and then you have an app that you can also access. So it makes it easier when you're able to access it from a phone. So just to show you what it looks like. So, so if you go to the Mighty app, we are organizing. We're changing a lot of things around right now with what we've got here. So if you go to the Mighty app and then you log into the login that you created for our website, then you're going to see you've got all these informations. And there's course material. There's a whole lot of stuff. In fact, we're going to be switching over to there. I just realized it's 11. We're going to switch over just now because we have a private group that we run on Zoom. This is free, by the way. My weekly Monday mentorship chat is for free. If you go to like membership, there's so much on here, you guys. There's live stream replays. I have Lost Soul Rescues up here as well. So the last 2 Lost Soul Rescues were posted. Where is that? Is it live online courses? There's Qigong courses on here, self-awareness courses. There's the SCHH stuff on here. There's all kinds of stuff on here. And then if you go down to the directory, where is it? Live stream replays. This is where it is. There's a whole lot of stuff for healing and all kinds of really cool stuff on here. Light activations. Trying to figure out where I have my Lost Soul Rescues, though. Is that under exclusive content? It might be. This is one of the reasons why we need to reorganize things, because it makes it easier to be able to find these things. Dr. Tracy, we got live Qigong, we got healing prayers, we got how-to guides. We got a lot of stuff on here. So this is where we're going to switch over to just now, so that way we can do a private, I wouldn't say private, but it's a Zoom chat where all of us are able to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. I also have courses on here. There's courses and workshops and all kinds of stuff, including information about our masterclass that we just did as well. Where is that replay? I want to know. Sorry. I'm trying to find where the Lost Soul Rescues were. Mentorship. Oh, thank you. They're under the mentorship one. Okay. So yes, if you guys are interested in joining us, you just sign up on Astara Community, create a name and email to go on there, and then you should be able to see live events going up, and that's when you'll notice that we're there. Cool. I'm doing the one-to-one with Katie, and she is so amazing and a safe space to learn. Thank yous to Lara for showing me Katie. Katie is a phenomenal medium, and she is doing the spirit release training right now. So thank you, Charisse. I appreciate you. If you guys would like to join us for this Zoom chat, by all means, please do. We're going to jump over to that just now. Where can we stay updated on future masterclass and all that? That is right there on AstaraCommunity.com. I love you all. I hope you all have a fantastic day. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a fantastic time. Bye.